Yes, ma'am. So,
Did you want me to do the introduction and
no,
start
no,
talking?
sir.
No? Good. Good.
It's all my
Thanks.
pleasure. So, welcome everybody. Welcome Professor Dr. Sean Watts. We have him as the today's guest. He's the external chair for our today's HRTech session, which we are going to have. And indeed, a pleasure to have you, sir. And if I describe him, when I read the profile, I was really thinking, what all does he do? I mean, he's kind of an all-rounder. Starting from like he's started his career at the age of 15 when he studied nuclear medicine and practiced as a chemotherapist there long time back. But I guess his passion for more to do towards the international management and technologies and cross-cultural researches brought him back. That's how I think we met today on a virtual platform. Welcome, sir. So, sir has done his double, MBA. One from McMaster University, Canada, and the second one from Yonsei University from Korea, and it's also called Korea's Harvard. So we will be hearing sir in a while, and he holds a PhD degree from international management. Has overall like 85 articles and books to his this he has catered to, and prior to his academics he had a significant experience as a corporate executive with applied materials and worked with various corporates like Samsung and other, including the UN, and in 128 countries he is having his presence. So that's about sir, and he also provides funding programs. He's more keen on having online programs and funding programs with Kenya, Korea, Africa, India, and Nepal as well, and help students to get grants from the university and make students kind of corporate ready for the different various corporates. So this is just a summary, but yeah, it's it's a lot. So welcome you, sir. And as you know that we are having this conference GSMC 2021 on corporates challenges and future trends ahead. So would like you to just express your thoughts on the same.
Sure, you're ready for me to start. That was quite a long introduction. It's my pleasure to meet you. It's my honor. Thank you very much. I will start by sharing a little bit of the information that I have here. Hopefully you guys can see my screen okay. I need
Yes, sir.
to thank all of you with the DME for not only inviting me here, but your interest in learning more and developing more with management and technology, especially today, technology usage with human resource workplace. You have a very good graphic in the top corner here, but in addition to that, I have a small image at the bottom underneath yours that I like. And one of the things that I talk quite a bit about is how students should look at the big picture. I'm going to be talking about a little bit of the big picture, how individual students and companies should be looking at the world around them and how technology is invading everything. But for specific students, most students, they usually focus on doing a term paper and that's about it. I encourage people to look beyond that and try to do your term paper on local companies and then try to publish those either in a student journal or student newspaper. That will help your resume. And if you're very good, there is a lottery ticket type of arrangement with the transnational, the international, multinational firms. And a lot of them are providing corporate social responsibility grants. So that's what the image is over here, together with lots of context. This was largely developed by another teaching assistant of mine, Hua Win. She's amazing, and another lady, Tuong Win. So can't not talk about them. I'd like to start by just pointing out that we're at a time when the world is definitely changing. The US job market hit a record in June of 2021. The US had more than 10 million job openings, the highest number ever recorded in the United States, and millions quit for better jobs with the Great Resignation. 3.9 million more workers quit. In addition to that, today we're going to be talking about the job postings, biddings, HR management, tech management, clarify how technology and AI, specifically I'm going to be talking quite a bit about ATS, software used by companies to filter and manage applications. Any student that's interested in getting a job should be paying close attention to this. And then we're going to describe the advantages, disadvantages of recruitment with this technology and how to work with this, specifically keywords. So if we get into it, everybody is aware of basic ideas of getting jobs, but many people ask questions. So before I get into the technology usage, just looking at the basic questions. What can I say in an application? What can I say in a cover letter or a CV or a resume? And the first answer you should look at is related to the technology, because technology, these robots will be managing it. So you should speak the language of robots. Look at the keywords from the company job ad and put those into your letters. Some companies, I've been working with companies before where we posted a job ad on a Friday night, and by Monday morning, we had 37,000 resumes or CVs applying for the job. And so hopefully you guys understand, human beings, we can't easily manage to sift through 37,000 resumes quickly. So computers do it, technology, software does it. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. Other than that, for cover letters, yes, you definitely need a cover letter, and there's details here. Should your resume be 1 page or 2? That depends on how much experience you have. And there's a few other websites you can see at the bottom here. I'm sharing this PPT with all of you, so you can look through those at your own time. This is the summary. It's too much information in one slide, but it's talking about how AI and technology is changing HR management. It's definitely changing recruitment. And you should all be aware of Forbes magazine. It is a Scopus, it's a respected magazine. They have an article talking about how artificial intelligence and machine learning are now definitely helping human capital management or HR management. The idea that AI companies are helping, they can do many things, from scheduling interviews to automatically finding and ranking candidates to helping assess technical candidates for certain coding challenges or technology challenges with auto-generated tests and quizzes. They can also help create better job postings and discover people that aren't actively looking for jobs, look for passive job seekers. And all of these are different software programs. Like Harvard is a program that screens by generating engaging tests. And Ansaro is a program that unifies all data about employees to build predictive models. So overall, AI can make recruiting smarter. Companies have increasing amounts of diversity in data and can identify some things, some fits for your jobs in the companies, but the recruiting process is still stuck in the old days. Just like most education, not DME, not your university. Your university is very high-tech and well-organized. Thank you very much. But most universities and education, they were designed over 100 years ago, and not very much has changed. And HR is the same, but you should be aware of what is out there. Most people are just looking at the standard resumes, and they have biases, and biases with the interview's opinions. Machines can help with this stuff, and you can screen applicants. There are different algorithms that outperform humans in hiring. So to go through this quickly, I think I only have a couple of minutes to talk, so I'll just give a few slides. The idea that companies can get many CVs and use software to manage details. This is just a comic picture, but it's showing that you need to learn how this human resource management software programs called ATS, automatic tracking systems, how they work, and know how your application gets noticed. If you're not aware how this actually works, you're going to be missing out. It's guaranteed. It's happened to me. Learn to use keywords, key skills sought, and use those keywords from the company job ad. That's what I'm going to be focusing on the most in the next few slides, but you should learn even more than that. For example, the culture behind the company. I am Canadian, and I have worked internationally with many different countries and many different universities. And although I'm Canadian, I did quite a while ago, I applied for another Canadian position, like a visiting professorship, and I saw that I was rejected. And I was rejected because I forgot the Canadian cultural aspects. For example, you're not supposed to have a picture, or sometimes you're not supposed to have your address. Depending on where you're applying, you need to know the culture of those applications. My resume, which is at the beginning of this PPT, shows the details, and traditionally it shows photos of me and my address, my home address, but those will create biases. So some Canadian organizations will disqualify you if you don't follow the right culture. So learn the key skills, learn the keywords for sure, but no matter what, you need to learn what that organization is looking for and copy their style and the wording. So how do you beat these programs? The simple idea is you can see a resume here, just like the resume I had. I had a photo. You're not allowed having some photos sometimes. But the biggest thing that we see at the top left is to improve your chances of getting a job. Make sure you use the exact same words, those keywords in the job ad in your resume, and try to use extra words similar to those. The more you use those keywords and the more you use related words to that, the more the computer software will put you at the top of the pile. So use those keywords in proper context, like the keywords are rated higher when they appear in the right paragraphs with surrounding text around them. And of course, apply early. So many people are applying now, and so many people are changing jobs now. Things are moving really fast. Some jobs are only open for a very, very short time. Fancy resumes. I've seen some resumes that are on a coffee cup. I've seen some resumes that are virtual. I've seen some holographic details. Those may look nice, but the computer and the software usually searches the billions of people to find the best resumes, and they're usually looking for the traditional details. So make sure you're following the basic rules. Sometimes it says include your location. However, in certain parts of Canada, certain organizations, they disqualify you for doing that. Next, show your job title, then the dates, avoid columns and tables, avoid special characters. If you have a professional title, skip that. Use the common formats. Sometimes if you use monotype Corsica, maybe the software might not see it. So Arial and Times Roman, the boring ones, but the ones I like, they're the ones that are usually looked at, and often in one font. So I have lots of information I can talk about, but I don't want to take too much of your time. Do we have a timekeeper here? How much
Yes,
time do we
sir. Yeah, you can extend.
how much time would you like me to continue? I understood I was just going to say hello and monitor some people. Would you, how
No,
much
if you
time?
want another 5 minutes, it's okay, sir.
Okay. The basics that I'm showing is the idea of there's good things and bad things about everything. Make sure you're learning as much as possible about these things. Try to get a group of people together to review not just your resume, but also review how these robots or these ATS things will track through details. Check for your keywords. Disadvantages of working online, maybe we can skip this because everybody's on the web, everybody's online, or most people are. Those people that are not on the internet, maybe you might not want to really spend too much time looking for them. The general idea of a resume, be creative, don't waste space, only use the words that the software program and the job interviewer and whoever programmed that AI or the software program, whatever they care about, that's the only thing they're really going to be looking for. So try to find out their culture, their keywords, and use that in your resume. If not, I would suggest delete anything that is not attractive to those specific people. Try to keep it as concise as you can. And no matter what you're doing, the fact that software helps a lot, you should still give one more time. You should still give the letters. Provide an introduction note, a cover letter, and also provide a thank you letter. Again, as I say, I have worked with companies where in just one Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning, we had 37,000 applications. And so when anybody is trying to go through many, as good as you are, you're going to forget some details. So a thank you note coming up afterwards will put you back on the top of their mind. So it helps quite a lot. Before the interview, definitely practice. Practice for the computer, practice for the robot, make sure the keywords are there and key skills. And of course, any questions you may have. Don't forget, there are some tricks with HR. Lots of these new software, the technology, they are looking for certain people from maybe certain areas or have certain amount of qualifications or certain years of experience. If you don't have those, you will probably be sifted out. That's pretty basic. So you have to understand what the coders said, but in addition to the software programs, there's also, if you do get lucky and get interviewed, sometimes some bots, for example, they may also give you basic questions for interviewing. I've had interviews where I'm checked psychologically, I'm checked socially. I've had people that have gone through an interview period that took more than 2 years. If you're dealing with like FBI or high-level law enforcement type positions. But sometimes when you do get to a person, sometimes even with the bots, they will ask you trick questions like, what are your greatest problems or greatest weaknesses? Obviously, you're not supposed to talk about being an alcoholic or a serial killer or a drug addict or something. You're supposed to talk about things that some people might find not great, but the company, everything you say should be positive and mutually beneficial to the company. So what can you say that might be a problem or a weakness? For example, you're a workaholic or you're addicted to your job or developments and you're not very good at socializing with sports, something like that. You know, so think about those good problems. I can go on and show you many different details, but I think I'll probably wrap it up so I can hear more details from you guys. We have several other slides I could show, but no matter what you're doing, start quickly, start developing towards your goals, and I'm sure you'll do well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights for students specifically. And I think we would also request next time for you to have this workshop, CV writing. So it will be a great help to these students of ours. Moving on for today's session, we also have internal session chair, Dr. Pooja Sharma with us. Dr. Pooja is working as an assistant professor at DME Dr. Sharma has 4 years of teaching experience, and she takes up research methodology, accounting, taxation, and e-commerce. Ma'am is a PhD from Delhi School of Economics and SAS certified research professional. She has a very strong research background and is adept at conducting data-driven exploratory business analysis. And welcome, ma'am, to the today's session. So, sir, just to brief you and people out here for today, we'll be having paper presentations now. And for everybody, is this, I just want to say the rules are that 10 minutes is the time limit for presenting a paper, plus followed by 5 minutes for Q&A, that is question and answers we'll be having. And we'll be starting now. And sir, we have shared this award sheet with you in the chat box, wherein you'll have to allocate marks to the various research scholars, and we have academicians and people from the corporate also. So in today's session, we are having presentations from various people. To begin with, I'll be just calling out the names. Just give me a moment. So we are starting with today's paper from the author, Ms. Preeta Suresh and Mr. Venkala Krishna Prasad. The title of the paper is Synchronization of Technology and Human Resource Practices for Sustained Competitive Advantage. So could we have it from you, Preeta ma'am?
A very good morning and thank you for having me here. Good afternoon, Dr. Watts. I heard you say that it's an afternoon where you are located. May I present my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Seema, could you confirm that my screen is visible?
It's beautiful. Yes, I can see it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So as Dr. Seema just mentioned, this is the topic of my paper, Synchronization of Technology and Human Resource Practices for Sustained Competitive Advantage. I am Preeta Suresh. I'm a research scholar with the University of Mysore, which is located in the south of India. To move on, I'll be covering these few things during the 10 minutes that I have been allotted. So basically, I'm starting with the introduction and why this particular study was required, what were my objectives when I was doing this, a few references to the literature that I have accessed, the research methodology I used, certain discussion, Q&A, which follows my paper. To move on, the reason for the whole study, the introduction and the background to the study. So we have always understood that it doesn't matter what the objectives of the business are. It is the workforce competency which actually drives those business objectives. It is the workforce competency which actually ensures that we have a sustained competitive advantage in the business. So if we consider when we moved from, let's say, manpower to machine power, and then to 2.0, when we went in for the assembly line production, and then 3.0, when we looked at bringing in computers and other technology into the production process, we have always noticed that, gradually there is increased amount of technology which is coming into the workspace. So now that we are at 4.0, where we are looking at advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence, Dr. Watts just spoke about it. So when you're looking at artificial intelligence, you're looking at machine learning, you're looking at big data, you're looking at Internet of Things, and incorporating these practices into the workplace, it is also going to require us to change the workplace practices, to change the job models that we have traditionally been following over the years. And in many countries, we are already at the cusp of Industry 5.0, so which is looking at greater integration of technology into the workspace. And this is actually going to disrupt the balance between human job responsibilities and the algorithmic machine technology that we will be using, because we expect that most of the machines, when we go into Industry 5.0, we are looking at machines being able to do most of the things that we are currently able to do in terms of cognitive processes, which means that machines are going to be trained to think like us. They are going to study the way we do things, and then they're going to do it. So where does that leave us? So this was the question that was the basis of this study. And one more thing that is happening now that we noticed that we are incorporating these technologies, and the pandemic has just accelerated this whole business of introducing technology at the workplace. So we are seeing that many organizations are now increasing the allocation of resources to incorporating HR technology. So even the traditional businesses are moving forward into using technology for human capital management. So basically, this was the objectives that I was looking at. I wanted to understand the utilization of artificial intelligence and other technologies in specific areas of talent acquisition, talent management, and development. I wanted to understand the factors why it is necessary for HR professionals to actually integrate technology into capacity building, and obviously the challenges that come when we are looking at incorporating such technology. So this was the basis of my research. This is some of the literature review that I have gone through, and which I basically identified as the key literature that I would be interested in. Basically, my research is a qualitative research. It's based on literature review, systematic literature review. So I have considered papers from somewhere around 2007, and then narrowed it down to those topics which I was specifically interested in. So these were some of the papers which I basically found it very interesting, and which gave a particular background to the study that I was undertaking. So one of the things that Strohmeyer in 2007 has said, that when we incorporate technology into management activities, we make it more efficient, to let's say answer any employee queries. So efficiency was something that was brought up by this paper. Similarly, Lal in 2015, he spoke about the fact that we are now looking at young skilled talent coming into the workplace, and this is going to change the dynamics of the job models that we are following. Moving on, these were some of the other papers that I was interested in. So Nair in 2013 again spoke about the fact that we are looking at a younger, more skilled workforce coming into the workplace. So it is necessary for organizations to increase their technological capabilities. The last paper on this paper is basically the challenge, one of the challenges that was brought about, where they said that how do you use the algorithm to choose specific data and then create those predictive models that we would probably be incorporating into the organization. So this was one of the challenges that Capelli and others who were part of his research had thrown up, because they felt that the cost of algorithmic usage when it comes to collecting large amounts of data may not necessarily be valid for every organization out there. So like I said, this was the research methodology, and I focused on 5 areas. The first one was talent acquisition. Dr. Watts has already given us a beautiful slide about all this. So basically my paper or my study also was somewhere along those lines. So where organizations are using artificial intelligence to identify the attributes of successful employees. So one of the papers that I referred, they talk about how artificial intelligence can be used to define the ideal employee in terms of experience, in terms of qualifications, in terms of his attitude, his behavioral styles, his the proactive way in which he undertakes whatever job responsibilities he has. So they put all these things together to build up the model of an ideal employee, and then used that in the talent acquisition software to see if we could match the resumes to the kind of people, not just the resumes, even the interviews, the pre-screening interviews, to the kind of people they were looking for. And obviously, there was a use of chatbots, which was also referred to. Now, the good thing about using chatbots is chatbots can provide information about practices in the organization, the actual atmosphere, the work culture in the organization, and the young skilled workforce, which actually does a lot of research before they take up these kind of decisions, would find it beneficial if we had these kind of technologies in the organization. And that, of course, means that hiring managers can spend time on core activities such as building up those relationships with the potential employees, so that we do get the kind of talent that we are looking for. And of course, it eliminates the bias from the recruitment process, because it's not an individual who's doing something. And during the study, one of the organizations that I could read up on was IBM, and how they were using all this technology in the different aspects that I was studying. So IBM has something called as a Watson Candidate Assistant, which is an AI-powered solution which engages with potential candidates to create that personalized application process. And it also incorporates certain videos which allows the candidate to understand the actual work life and culture at IBM. The second aspect that I was looking at is talent engagement, because we always believe that it is important for employees to be engaged with the organization. That makes them share the vision of the organization. So one of the things that artificial intelligence does is it gives those flags of talent alerts, which basically allows for better deployment decisions. And similarly, the chatbots, continuing from the previous slide, the chatbots, the use of chatbots in HR basically ensures that there is a quicker resolution to queries, because the chatbot is available 24/7. At IBM, one of the things that they are doing is they are using chatter analysis. So their internal servers, the messages that are posted on the internal social media platform that IBM has, is analyzed to identify the top 3 issues that are being discussed, and then the team leaders are provided specific recommendations on what the issues are and how they can improve engagement within the team.
I'm sorry to bother. Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Preeta, ma'am, we have exceeded the time limit.
Yes,
Please request you to end up. It's 10 minutes. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so would you like me to just get into the conclusion?
Yeah, please.
Or would you just want me to stop it here?
No, please conclude.
Oh, okay. So talent retention, talent knowledge management, and talent empowerment were the other 3 areas that I had studied. And this was basically a chart that had picked up, combining all the research that I had done, where they talked about how the emerging technology was used, what is the possibility, and how these could be measured. Challenges, instead of going through a slide, I would say the top 4 challenges right now that we are looking at is volume of data, because for it to be effective, for algorithms to be effective, we need volumes of data. And do we have that? That's the first problem we are having. The second problem we are having is security, data security, because especially if I feel that my social media chats are being analyzed, I don't think I'm going to be very comfortable about it. So that was one aspect that came out in these papers. Third is the kind of skill level that we are looking at. Do we really have that kind of skill level across the world to incorporate and work with this technology? And the fourth, of course, is the resistance to change. So this is the fourth aspect that we're looking at, because any kind of technological incorporation is leading to insecurity. So in conclusion, definitely technology is good. We need to adopt it, but although it has the capability to, great potential, we also need to have people skills aligned to it. We need to have, we need to encourage the kind of behaviors that will incorporate this technology, and of course work with the security aspect. So thank you very much, and I'm ready to take any questions.
So I would request Professor Watts if he has any questions, and also Dr. Pooja followed by him. Sir, you're on mute.
Yes. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted because it was so interesting, but I missed how much literature review did you have, or your amount of surveying and details like that? Could you explain that?
Yes, I did. Actually, I've considered papers between 2007 and 2021. Roughly around, I would say 58 papers or so. So, and one of them was the focus on IBM, which was the examples that I picked to see if, what they said in those papers really matched.
And it sounded like you had surveying also related to chatbots, or were you just talking about the surveying inside other research articles?
No, all the research articles, not just on chatbots. I had kept it open to talent management, knowledge management, talent acquisition, talent empowerment, and talent retention. So those were the 5 areas that I was focusing on.
Okay, great. Did you notice one thing that I didn't see with your conclusion I was really looking for was, what did you find in all of your research was the most popularly used software or chatbot or the tech management program? What was the most popularly used? I know Watson is amazing, but I'm not sure everybody uses Watson.
No, I think Watson is restricted to IBM because that is their chatbot. This is something that they have introduced. So most of the papers that I have gone through, I think the focus was more on applicant tracking system. So, I don't specifically recollect the names of the software, but I did realize that out of the papers that I would have read, a greater focus of those papers was on talent acquisition rather than the others. So whenever we spoke about empowerment, retention, knowledge management, that's when the reference to chatbots actually came up. So I'm sorry, but I don't remember the software that was asked.
My program, my research has some of that. Maybe we can combine. Anyway, thank you very much. It was a very good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Were there other questions from the audience and other faculty here?
Dr. Pooja?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, it was a very interesting paper. I just wanted to know that this is basically you have done from a theoretical or a conceptual point of view, you have identified factors. So,
Yes.
can you give any suggestions as to how this study can also be made empirical? If somebody wants to do an empirical study, and especially I would ask in the Indian context, because we being over here right now, it was a bit of a challenge for all of us to switch
Yes.
to technology.
Absolutely.
So, how do you think in India these things would shape up, and how can this study be made empirical?
So, ma'am, from my understanding, the biggest challenge in the Indian context is still volume of data, because we still have a lot of traditional industries which are following the traditional way of managing human capital. They're just moving into using ATS for the first time. So there's a PricewaterhouseCoopers study which talks about this and says that 78% of the HR professionals surveyed say that the biggest challenge is the skills. So if I had to look at this from an empirical point of view, then I would probably study the challenges first, okay, where the survey would have been that, okay, what do they find as the key challenges? So that would be one of the surveys that I would think about, because right now, if you ask me, I think that is the biggest problem that we are facing here, and which stops us from actually incorporating technology the way it has been done, let's say, in the Western countries.
Okay. And you have primarily focused on the big companies, like, for example, you have mentioned IBM. So, what do you think are the challenges for the SMEs or the small companies who are just starting out? So, they don't have that much exposure. And in fact, you also said that cost is also one of the factors.
Yes.
So,
So
how can they cope up?
Yeah. So for the smaller companies, okay, the biggest challenge is going to be the cost of technology, number one. Because even if we were to do a cost and benefit analysis for a small firm, the volume of data is not really going to help us to generate those predictive models. Okay, so that's going to be our biggest challenge there. So why would I want to invest that kind of money into a technology which will not give me, the kind of outcome that I desire? So the cost benefit analysis does not match up. So volume of data is going to be a big problem for small companies. Again, when we are looking at smaller firms, resistance to change is going to be another big factor that they are going to face, because to incorporate technology, we need the people of the organization to be aligned to the benefits of this technology. But the moment we talk about bringing technology, the biggest fear that happens in smaller firms is, am I going to lose my job? So resistance to change is going to be a big factor for the smaller firms, if you are going to talk about incorporation of technology. And of course, skill levels.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. So now we would move on to our next presenter.
Thank you very
It's-
much.
Thank you, ma'am. So we have Dr. D.K. Shukla with us, who's going to present his paper on effective leadership in organization through information and communication technology. That's ICT. So Dr. Shukla? Are we having Dr. Shukla with us right now? In the meanwhile, I think if Dr. Shukla is taking some time, so we'll move on to the third presenter for the day. That's Miss Vandana Dubey. So, ma'am would be presenting on exploring the dynamics of human resource analytics. So, Vandana Dubey, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and special good afternoon to Professor Sean. And today I'm really feeling privileged to be presenting my research paper here on DME's conference. And it has been really enlightening so far. I had attended the inauguration session, and even during that day, the theme was completely on HR. And it was really enlightening, and not only enlightening, the whole theme was focusing on the practice that is more required. Like even today's paper of mine is based on literature review, but how that literature is actually reflecting its findings on practice, that is real importance for the corporate, even for our students at DME. So the inaugural sessions findings and even the takeaways were really enlightening for me, and even must have been for other participants as well. So I'll be sharing my presentation. Give me a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Please go ahead.
So the topic that I have chosen for this research work is exploring the dynamics of HR analytics. HR analytics is an area which is, we would say, still emerging. And however, analytics has been in practice in one or other form in the organizations for a long time. Even we can say from Frederick W. Taylor's time, some use of analytics was there in practice. That's why, objectivity in handling the work, objectivity in making the payments, objectivity in rating the individual's performance, aspects were existing during that time also. But if we talk of today's scenario, say 2015 onwards or 2010 onwards, things are changing quite fast. And since the world is connected very well and we are all able to know what is happening in Canada, what's happening in USA, and what is happening in other states or of even in India, we are able to get each and every information quite conveniently, quite in a speedy way. Similarly, in the field of HR, which used to be more of a traditional time office kind of job it used to have earlier, it is changing. Now it is becoming more strategic in nature. And it's not becoming strategic in nature because of the organizational requirements are changing. But even the role of people or the contribution of people towards organization success is changing. So that's how the overall perspective of organizations towards the contribution of HR function is changing, and which is making us to explore the field of analytics with respect to HRM is, it's a need of the hour. So with the introduction, I'll start. That change is the only constant, and we have been witnessing that organizations are learning, unlearning, relearning, and it's been happening quite fast. Like the speed of cycle has quite become quite fast nowadays, and organizations are not only forced, but it has become a requirement for them to adapt to changes quite fast if they want to remain competitive, if they want to keep good employees, if they want to remain, having an edge in the industry, in the market, and globally as well. And HRM function is also witnessing dynamic transformation, not only in terms of, maintaining employees, but how to retain the employees. Retaining employees has really become difficult for organization, as Professor Sean has also highlighted that the number of jobs, vacancies are increasing everywhere across the globe. So in that case, when a candidate has so many job opportunities to explore, why would one stay with one organization? Even in these areas of handling people, managing people, ensuring that employee remains engaged with the organization, analytics and data-driven systems help the organization in knowing what's going on in the minds of organization, what is the usual pattern of people quitting jobs, changing jobs, or aspiring for a better profile within the organization or outside the organization. So how to imbibe all psychological, even technical requirement, day-to-day operational requirement, everything into one place. There we are able to get the help of analytics. There we are able to get the help of various statistical tools, various predictive tools, which can actually help the organization in forecasting better. Even as Professor Sean has also highlighted about applicant tracking system, that tracking system really helps, or it's a really a boon to the organization in handling the human resource planning or the workforce planning that we say, because there, with the help of applicant tracking system, organizations are not only minimizing or saving on time, but they're actually able to save a lot of time and cost management, as well as getting the right kind of candidate. So it's a win-win situation for the candidate as well as the organization, because these systems are minimizing the biases. These systems are actually trying to match the organization needs along with the candidate's profile. So this is also offering transparency in people management practices and increasing competition and organizations' aspirations to have competitive edge in the industry, because there are so many players in the market, and organizations, if they don't innovate, if they don't catch up with the latest technological advancement, the organizations might be lagging behind in the industry. And challenges of retaining talent, it's a really serious problem which each and every organization is facing these days, that how to get the right kind of talent, and once the organization has the right kind of talent, how to keep those individuals, those employees motivated, how to keep them engaged with the organization, and how to ensure that they contribute towards organizational growth for a long time. So HR analytics, for the purpose of this paper, I'm giving a few definitions, what I have taken from the research papers that I had reviewed. It helps in better human capital decisions through available scientific evidences and organization facts. So this is definitely indicating that there is going to be more of objectivity, more of clarity of decision making, and lesser amount of biases, lesser amount of confusions, and you know or candidates will also remain more satisfied that yes, these decisions are as per the facts and data provided by the organization, which is in favor of them or which is actually the requirement of the organization. HR analytics is a tool enabled by information technology which applies descriptive, visual, and statistical analysis of data related to HR processes, human capital, organizational performance, and external economic benchmarks to establish linkage between the business impact and facilitate objective decision making. This is the primary criteria here, that how to ensure objectivity, how to ensure transparency, and how to have a clear set of decision making process. It also can be summarized in an emerging decision making tool which uses HR related data to effectively understand and solve and predict HR related outcomes. And another important focus area of HR analytics is associated with the strengthening role of HR function in the overall business decision making. This I had started my presentation with this, that how the day-to-day HR activities have now seen as strategic human resource management. Organizations are actually evaluating how HR is actually contributing towards getting competitive advantage, how it is giving a competitive edge to the organization. If we take example of consulting firms, which are totally people driven, they are not having any product, but the work done by the employees, the work done by the people who are working for the organization, they are the machinery for that particular group of industry. There, if employees needs are not taken care of, the business will be out of the market. So in such kind of businesses, the overall strategic HRM aspect have been evolving, and organizations have been all adopting the latest HR management practices, and not only day-to-day practices but advancement, so that they are in compliance with the market changes. Analytics has been in practice in HRM for years. And for a very long time, organizations have been finding it difficult to obtain and utilize information systematically to manage business operations. Hence, analytics or HR analytics, which we are talking about now, has been in practice, or even it is evolving, but organizations are keen on adopting to it. For the purpose of this paper, the objectives were to study the changing paradigm in the field of HRM, to understand.
Time is already up. You
Is,
can complete.
yeah. So I'll just speed up. And to explore the field of HR analytics and get an insight of the role of technological advancement. Research methodology that I had adopted for this paper was primarily literature review, and the keywords that I had used were HR analytics, people analytics, workforce analytics, and talent analytics. The paper aimed at developing understanding of development in the field of HR analytics, and some of the aspects that were really interesting I found while doing the literature review, the HR analytics cycle. This, when I'll be working further on this topic, I'll be covering this area, and how well it actually explains that overall process of HR analytics takes place, starting from the determination of user requirement till strengthening the decision making. And similarly, what other tools like visualization tools, predictive tools, it uses for the purpose of organization decision making. The recommendations that I give based on this particular study is that there is a need to conduct exhaustive research related to HR analytics and data-driven decision making, because it is still exploring. I've read so many research papers, and still a clear-cut direction is missing. There is scope of doing industry-specific research, and there is also scope to have a robust conceptual framework which will provide a kind of a direction for future empirical research as well, and urges the need to benchmark the HR related forecasting and prediction in compliance with the changing strategic HRM dimensions. And I'll be concluding with that this field demonstrates a new approach to manage HR function more strategically, having the role of talent, knowledge management, all these areas, and highlighting the changing organizational preferences towards strategic management, which is in practice across the globe. And this particular paper contributes to literature by proposing the need to conduct detailed studies to examine role of analytics. So I will conclude my paper presentation here, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
I wish we had all day to keep hearing more details.
Actually, these topics are so interesting that we can keep on exploring, and we can keep on getting inputs from all the participants here.
Absolutely. The whole idea of analytics is also incredibly important.
Really?
When you went through it, I didn't hear your final abstract. What would you say is the biggest lesson for the world?
So the biggest lesson for the world is that we, the organizations, must have to have role of analytics, HR, especially HR analytics, not only having the human capital management software only in place through the ERP system, but even they must be having HR analytics well in place, so that the overall sentiment of employees, overall expectation of employee can be matched. And
Okay.
how well the both are aligning their expectation with each other, the organization and the individual employee, and how well they are, after aligning their expectation, going towards a common goal, that is the organizational objective, along with the growth of employee as well. So that becomes more important.
It sounds very similar to the idea of general MIS, Management Information Systems, needs to have everybody involved for the successful full application of this. Have you noticed much difference or comparisons to MIS, or a difference to regular MIS applications in companies?
So MIS generally used to have, day-to-day recording of data and information management. But this is much more than that. This is more advanced. This is more strategic in nature. And it's not only that if HR analytics is in place, it's only for HR purpose and it's like boundaries are closed. It's not like that. Organizations can align different areas, different field together, and getting information or forecasting any requirement for future becomes quite easy with this compared to what MIS used to have.
Okay, thanks. The idea of your review, you were saying that you also did a literature review. Approximately, what was the extent of your surveying of information? What amount of journals or time of journals?
So, I try to cover research journals from say 2008 onwards, between 2000 and 2021. Around 30 papers I had referred, and majority of papers either those papers were highlighting about one particular country or HR analytics in general. And even if there are country specific, if I talk about India, even if there are country specific journal, the articles, the coverage is still, it can be more exhaustive for a reader to understand what exactly HR analytics is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If we have some other people that have some extra questions for you, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ma'am. So it was a very interesting paper.
Thank you,
So I
ma'am.
just want to know that you were saying that HR analytics is basically being used in more of recruitment and selection areas. But I would like to mention that what about areas where we still require human touch, like understanding the grievances of the employees or motivating them? How HR analytics can help in these areas where you need to sit and listen and understand the emotions of the employees. Can HR analytics help in those areas also?
HR analytics can certainly help in us understanding the sentiments. I had already explained about it, that how well that human touch that we are having, that cannot be avoided. but definitely better information management to get the right kind of insights will be helped to us by HR analytics. But one-to-one discussion, like if I have grievance as an employee, and that's something which only HR manager or my immediate supervisor can help me in resolving. That one-to-one discussion can never be avoided, the human touch can never be avoided, but still this would help the organization in getting more objective set of informations which can actually help one understand what are the causes of those grievances, how those grievances can be avoided in future. I'm having grievances now. If I'm having similar kind of grievance 2 months hence, then the problem is not resolved. It will be recurring. But if our systems are such that we design our system in such a way that similar kind of problems don't occur in future, then that's where HR analytics will help.
Okay. And I just have one suggestion, because this was again a very conceptual paper and you have just gone through the literature. Maybe you can do some thematic analysis or maybe some phenomenology, so that we are able to get more exhaustive list of
Exactly,
factors on
exactly.
which
Even
maybe
even
then
even
later on
here
we
in
can.
conclusion and findings also mentioned that the robust conceptual framework needs to be designed, and I myself will be working on that. I'm not ending my topic here, but I'll be continuing with it.
Yes, yes, definitely. It would be a very fruitful study, because this is still a nascent topic.
Yeah.
Very few people have actually worked on it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Good.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Sean. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
for this presentation.
Thank
Moving on, we have Shadab Mohammed Khan with us, who will be presenting his paper on the topic e-learning experiences of the entrepreneurial education students, a thematic analysis. Over to you, Mr. Khan.
Thank you, ma'am. So am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Very
Yes.
much.
My screen is also visible, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thanks, ma'am. So I'm Shada Mohammed Khan, research scholar at Center for Management Studies, Jamia Media COVID-19, a thematic analysis. So with introduction, as a major public health crisis, as we have all seen that the COVID-19 has affected the every aspect of life in every region around the world. And the lockdown as a preventive measures adopted by the government to curb the spread of the virus. And education sector is among the worst hit sector by the pandemic, and the loss of the students is invaluable. And we also see that the lockdown made the suspension of the physical classes, but not suspension of the learning, as most of the institutes have shifted to virtual platforms of the learning. The current study explores the e-learning experiences of the students enrolled in the entrepreneurship courses during the COVID-19 pandemic. And entrepreneurial education by different authors are like Fayol et al. In 2006 defined entrepreneurship education as any pedagogical program or process of education for entrepreneurial attitudes and skills. The definition reflects the notion that the field of entrepreneurship education involves the application, design, and implementation of innovative, futuristic, and proactive strategies to an educational environment. The entrepreneurship education literature focus on courses that prepare students for creating ventures rather than students conducting real venture creation process directly. Education on entrepreneurship through specialized courses aimed to support the development of entrepreneurship skills and focus on the identification of opportunities and pursuit of entrepreneurial behavior. Corbett and Moyne in 1997 found that participants in entrepreneurship education classes were more likely to start their own businesses than non-participants. Peterman and Kennedy on the same line in 2003 found that the participation in entrepreneurship education classes increases the desirability of pursuing an entrepreneurial career. So a part of entrepreneurship education involves taking an interdisciplinary perspective that incorporates different study areas for a practical solution. So how COVID-19 has impacted the entrepreneurial education is restriction on mass gathering and the social distancing requirement, forced shifting to class, as we have seen that class teaching to online teaching, sorry, class teaching to online teaching. The online education hits entrepreneurial education especially hard, as entrepreneurship education is experiential course in nature, which requires more of a practical knowledge. And how entrepreneurship should be taught to these students is a question that scholars and practitioners are still intrigued with. The COVID-19 outbreak proved the necessity of mind tinkering by the policymakers to transform entrepreneurial education so that entrepreneurial mindset and competencies can be developed. In this paper, we discuss how the pandemic is impacting entrepreneurship education globally and call for the development of additional resources for the online entrepreneurship education. So the integration of online learning in higher education over the last 20 years, while arguably substantive, still remains to slow gain widespread attraction, especially in entrepreneurship education. While online entrepreneurship education is not novel, it has failed to gain widespread adoption in part because contemporary approaches to entrepreneurship education stress the need for deliberate practice, real-world immersion, and experiential approaches. COVID-19 acted as a trigger which completely transformed classroom teaching to the online education. Impact and effectiveness of online learning is even less known within the context of entrepreneurship education. Therefore, the role of entrepreneurship education to face the crisis similar to COVID-19 needs to be explored. The objectives of the study are: the study seeks to enhance the understanding of students' reflections of online learning process during participation in a teaching course of entrepreneurial education, where digital platforms are utilized to provide entrepreneurial education, and to understand the issues, challenges, feasibility, and solutions in the online education of entrepreneurial courses, to suggest how digital technologies can be adopted to design and deliver drive effective entrepreneurship education processes. The methodology used for the study is qualitative research, which I consider to be more suited to gain a deeper understanding of the study's participants' experiences. Purposive snowball sampling, which is often utilized in qualitative studies, was used to locate study participants who were enrolled in different entrepreneurial courses at different educational institutes across the India. The in-depth telephonic interviews was done by the authors to adhere to the COVID-19 guidelines. The interview was kept semi-structured and average time of interviews lies near to 25 minutes. Participants in this study provided narratives that included their experiences of online entrepreneurial education such as feasibility, exposure, and effectiveness. Interviews were followed by the development of interview transcripts and applying thematic analysis and sentiment analysis tools. The software application and Vivo version 10 is used for the analysis. So this is a summary of the themes which were obtained out of the thematic analysis. And these are result from the sentiment analysis of the experiences of the online education, and this shows the future perspectives that the student feels about the online education. So this sentiment analysis shows that the majorly this attitude of a student is moderately negative towards the online education, but at the same time they are positive for the future of the online education of entrepreneurial education. The findings suggest that the major themes identified out of the participants' narratives using thematic analysis are lack of exposure, mental health, networking, IT problems, lost opportunities, innovation, entrepreneurial mindset. The negative sentiment of the participants towards online education shows that online education is not providing enough opportunities to acquire entrepreneurial knowledge. Education institutes dealing entrepreneurial education with temporary remedies, ignoring creative and exploratory actions needed to be held. There are challenges that, but the students are positive in confronting them, as shown by the positive sentiment analysis of the solutions and the future possibilities. Some aspects of entrepreneurship education lend themselves nicely to online instructions, whereas others require much more planning and deliberate thought to execute effectively. This is a reminder that we have not yet developed the tools and capacity necessary to teach effectively in an online format, despite there are likely being much more possibility. The participants suggest the need of concrete steps in the direction of developing more robust technologies that can inculcate the enhanced exposure, networking simulations, and digital games. So with this, I conclude that the challenging scenario represents an opportunity to enhance the education system and prepare it for potential future emergencies. Teaching entrepreneurial mindset requires non-traditional and new approaches to online education. Entrepreneurship education should strive to be actionable. There is a need of transformation of online entrepreneurial education from process oriented to action oriented, which promotes behavioral entrepreneurship. In a volatile and rapidly changing world, future direction of research in entrepreneurial education should be towards combining technology and entrepreneurial education. In that way, entrepreneurial education can develop the skills that students need to excel in highly uncertain and ambiguous environments. Thank you. That was all from my side.
Thank you very much. It's great to hear lots of good research and entrepreneurial information. I saw, I'm just checking through some of the notes that I had related to your the results. You said that you had surveyed the students for their satisfaction with the entrepreneurial classes and online. Can you describe more of that? For example, is it possible that you surveyed a good professor and then a bad professor, and the students knew of great professors before the online classes, and then during the online classes, students were only participating in other classes that were less developed? Can you explain a little bit more about that part of the surveying?
Yeah, Dr. Sen, that can be considered that different perspectives of teachers and the environment of the universities may be different for different colleges. But for the study, uh, we are considering only the online the experiences of the online platform of the students, the experiences which they are getting only from the technological experiences.
However, you were commenting about the students' satisfaction, is that right? And so the satisfaction was comparing the online class compared to a traditional class, right? Was it the same professors? Was it the same?
Yeah. So the professors was the same. All the environment of the institutes were remain to be same, except the shift from physical classes to the online classes.
Great. So we just didn't have to smell the professors anymore. Now it was just watching on a video screen. Okay, great. What would you say is the main sentence that you are teaching the world? What is your summary abstract?
Excuse me, sir?
If you are going to summarize your whole paper in 1 or 2 sentences, what would you say is the main that you have learned and you're teaching the world? What is your abstract statement?
So as we see, the online education is the need of an hour, and for a long time there was a demand for adopting more new technologies to the present traditional approach of teaching, and uh, the COVID-19 just acted as a trigger, and we should work towards more. The main thing is that we acted on a present knowledge of our teaching through online platforms. What is the need of an hour is that the curriculum, the teaching processes, and the learning processes should be adopted to current scenarios, and the more vision for the future should be inculcated in our approach.
Okay. Did you have much comment or interaction with the idea of gamification and teacher authentication in your research, or is that a new thing that's not really covered in your research?
Gamification, sir?
Yes, the idea of teaching online with massive open online courses, they
Yes, sir.
are
Yeah,
starting to identify
in my literature
gamification
review,
models.
I saw that during my literature review, I saw that there were different papers which were focusing on teaching entrepreneurship through games, through simulations, and the trend is towards adopting these technologies. But these are in the initial stage as of now. Uh, like one is Steel Lab in Italy, uh, which is introducing new kind of lab to provide entrepreneurial education to its students.
Okay. Thank you very much. If other people had some questions, feel free to go ahead and join in. I don't want to hog all of the spotlight. Thank you. Good
Pooja
job.
ma'am, question from your side.
Um, Thank you, Mr. Khan. So it's a good exploratory study. So I just want to know that you have used interviews as a tool for identifying the themes. So how many people did you interview?
Ma'am, I interviewed 26 students for the study.
Okay, you interviewed students for the study, and then did you get a questionnaire also filled by them, or that was your
Yes, ma'am.
primary?
That's why
Hmm.
it is first I made them aware of the need of the study, and then I provided them is a questionnaire also that so that the information provided orally by them can be matched with their knowledge that they provided with some thinking, giving some time to it.
Okay, okay. So, were there different universities you tried to approach students from different university, or it was just from your university of taken? Because I just want to know the generalizability of the study. To what extent it can be generalized?
Yes, ma'am. Uh, I around 5 to 6 university from around 5 to 6 university students I collected the data. The major of the participants were from the Jamia Millia Islamia, but there were participants from different colleges also, ma'am.
Okay, so one suggestion I just want to make that if you want to increase the generalizability of the study, you should try to get a good representative sample. If you are making a conclusion about India, then you can identify some major cities where online learning is being adopted on a large scale. So this will increase the representativeness of your study. Because right now it is just focusing on a few universities which you were able to reach out to.
Ma'am, what is the problem with the qualitative research is that you have to take a very long time with particular
Yes.
participants. So that is
Yeah,
a
yeah, right.
obstacle in the study. I will try,
Yeah,
definitely try.
as an extension to your study, you can do that later on because it will help you get a better publication.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for your suggestion.
Were
And
you
I think
related?
another faculty also want to ask a question. So
Yes,
if
ma'am.
there is anyone from the audience also, they can ask the question.
I had
So,
another question.
Bhupin,
Did you also uh, get involved with the National Program Technology Enhanced Learning, the India's program for online education? Is that some of the core courses you checked, or were they new courses before they got into the NPTL?
I did not get it.
India's national program, the government works with some universities, the National Program Technology Enhanced Learning, they have a lot of online courses being circulated. Were you related to that, or were they just specific professors, specific courses even
No, sir,
before that level?
the interviews were conducted with the students who were enrolled in the regular courses. I did not include the students who were getting the who were enrolled on for the online courses.
Okay, thank you. Very good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, Bhupinder sir, if you could unmute yourself and ask your question. Sir, you're not audible. Maybe there's some network issues. So, thank you, Mohammed Shadab. So, moving on, the next presenter is Ms. Sukanya Datta. She would be talking about legalities in HR technological integrations. Over to you, Sukanya. So, she's also one of our students in the college.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes.
If you can have the slideshow. Yeah. So, Kanya, we are not able to see you. Please switch on your camera.
Just a second. Am I visible now?
Yes, very much. Please share your screen. Please start.
So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to present on my paper titled Legalities in HR Technologies, Technological Integrations. So following are the contents that I'll be covering. Starting with the introduction. So human resources, being the most important of resources, need to be managed well in order to meet the organization's goals, as no matter how great the company have planned its initiative, if they are not implemented well, they're of no use. So to manage the resources, the company have used throughout this years different tactics, and HR technologies are one of them. Different companies use different HR technologies for monitoring the employees, keeping track of them and understanding their behavior in order to find solutions to it, so that the company makes maximum use of their resources, with their human resources working in their fullest of potential. The HR technologies used in different companies are diverse in nature, depending upon the size of the companies and the needs of them. The larger companies normally go for complex technologies, but the smaller companies mostly cannot afford them. So nextly, moving forward to the objectives of this paper explores different types of HR technologies used by different companies, what special features these technologies carry, and how they can violate the rights of the employees. It further highlights the governing Indian laws, which a company needs to abide by in order to avoid lawsuits and other legal actions. The methodology that I have used in this paper, the secondary resources were studied, and to identify different HR technologies used by different companies and what are the features they carry to differ from each other. And the second part followed a doctrinal method, through which case laws, legislations, founding documents, commentaries were studied. Following are the monitoring tools that are used in the workplace environment. First is the video surveillance, the CCTV cameras that are being used. Normally, these are very commonly used tools that are used to avoid discrepancies in the workplace. Second comes the networking and email monitoring. Networking and email monitoring are most direct way to monitor the employees' network. Monitoring enables tracking of incoming and outgoing traffic from office networks. It helps detecting malicious programs, infected workstations, and unusual internet usage in an organization, while also helping the employer to keep track of the sites visited by the employees. Email monitoring, on the other hand, monitors the email usage of the employee. Now, key cards and biometric monitoring. Biometrics used for scanning fingerprints or iris of a person, and key cards to open key card locks are used to ensure better security standards and keep a track of all who have entered into the area. It is also used to keep track of the attendance of the employees. Further, even key card are used by different companies to protect their trade secrets. And the next tool which is used are the GPS trackers. Like normally just tracks the location of a person. Normally this devices are used by food delivery individuals like Swiggy and Zomato in order for the customers to know where the delivery man is. Lastly, I would like to discuss the Fitbits. These are some of the wearable devices which monitor a person's heart rate, oxygen level, stress level, in order to keep track of an employee's health and to ensure better productivity and efficiency of that employee. Now, moving forward to the tools which are used to monitor employees working remotely. Now, ActiveTrack, HiveDex, TerraMind, Work Examiner, Time Doctors are some of the tools that are used by many companies. This software enables a manager to calculate the tasks the employees are working on, the time they're spending on each task, the sites they're visiting, the sites they log out or log into, the keyboard or mouse activity of an employee, attendance, client billable hours, etc. This software also takes screenshots on random intervals to ensure that the employees are on productive sites. The best feature of this software is that they are very easy to use. So no training or manual input is required to do this task. Also, the features of this apps are so nicely made that it is almost impossible to fake data. Secondly, there are softwares like Hours, Timely, Harvest, EverHour, TimeNack, ClickTime, Top Tracker, Toggle, which provide a browser extension which tracks time invested on different tools and provides advanced reporting features to help the managers analyze the time spent on their employees using different tools. Next comes the Resource Time. It is a web-based employee productivity platform that runs in the background of the employee's device. It tracks the time on employee spends on a software, and if it finds that software under the category of non-productive sites, it will block the user from visiting such sites in near future. The list of non-productive sites can be customized by the company as per the requirements. It specifies a company's productivity goal, and whenever it tracks the employee spending more time than it should have in an assigned task, it sends a notification asking whether they're working on that project or not, which immediately triggers the employee that they should get back to the work, as the monthly report or the annual report will highlight their work spent on different sites which are not of work related matters. Nextly, the email analytics. This software monitors email activities in Gmail and G Suite in order to keep a track on mail and send and receive a day or an hour. It majorly helps in customer services whenever it checks how long does a employee takes to respond to a mail. It provides a daily and weekly email activity report to the organization to monitor the productivity of these employees. Following are some of the legalities involved. So these are some of the legalities that can happen if the laws are not abided by, like privacy violation of an employee, security breaches, disclosure of personal information, leakage of sensitive personal data of an employee, like passwords, financial information, physical, psychological, and mental health conditions, etc. The intellectual property violation, identity theft. Now, moving forward to the governing Indian laws. So before starting with this one, I would like to state that India, it's been almost 75 years of Indian independence, but we are still lacking on a strong statutory provision that would ensure better privacy standard. for the citizens. And it's high time now that we work on it. But there are some Indian laws which have mentions of privacy concerns under it, like Article 21 of the Constitution of India talks about the protection of life and personal liberty. By the case Puttaswamy versus Union of India, it was included that right to privacy as an integral part guaranteed under Part 3 of the Constitution of India. But it is not an absolute right. Lawful restrictions can be imposed for the prevention of crime, disorders, or protection of health, or the protection of others' right and freedom. The next law is that the Electronic Communication Privacy Act lays down some reasonable restrictions on employers' right to monitor employees and lays strict restrictions on monitoring personal phone calls or voicemails made at workplace. Thirdly, I would like to mention the IT rules and the IT Act, which are the main enactments that deal with the protection of data and ensures the protection of personal information and sensitive personal data. However, any information which is freely available in public domain will not be included under these provisions. Other laws like contract law, specific relations law, intellectual property law, credit information, Companies Regulation Act 2015, etc., also deal with privacy of an individual and have provisions under them for the same. Following are some of the suggestions that I would like to make. An organization before settling to a company should be well versed by the law of the land, because many companies follow a principle which says that ignorance of law is not an excuse. So if a company somehow ends up in the court, they cannot say that we were not aware of the law, because this principle applies in most of the companies, most of the countries of the world. Having a good HR policy to deal with such scenarios, the software used for monitoring employees should have privacy features. A good HR policy to deal with such scenarios would do a great work. And monitoring of an employee's after working hours should be strictly prohibited. Monitoring of an employee's phone calls, email messages in workplace should be prohibited if they're made for personal use. Employers should provide separate devices inbuilt with such monitoring softwares to be used while working for the company, so that the employees continue feeling safe while using their own personal devices when they're not working for the company. CCTV camera should not be installed in position which captures the employee's monitor, because it's not necessary that the employees will be working on the work-related matter throughout the day. Also, the employees should be made aware of the ways they are being monitored, because at times it happens that when the employees are not aware of the ways they are being monitored, they themselves end up violating their privacy. Lastly, the employee should take all necessary measures to ensure that the privacy of an employee is not hindered and all the employee continues to feel safe while working for the company. Now, I would like to conclude the topic by saying that an organization, while working remotely or in an office environment, while monitoring its employees, should monitor them with trust and empathy and not with fear and close monitoring, as it not only can violate the rights of an employee with excessive monitoring, but will also make the relation between the employers and employees unhealthy and untrustworthy, leading into bigger problems for the company. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You did very well. I really like the presentation. I have to say that because I just finished researching that. Actually, I haven't even finished, but I have done a similar study. Related to your studies, you have identified in your methodology that you have identified several different features, for example, the technologies observing people, and you said that you did an extensive literature review. Can you tell me about the literature review? What were the ranges?
So I have a considered paper from 2012 to 2021, because I wanted to study the recent changes during COVID-19 and the changes like the changes in tools which are being used in recent times after the COVID-19 has started.
Okay, and with the decade of information, there's quite a lot of information. Was it 2012 to 2021 just in India, or was it focused
Mostly
on
in India.
Mostly in India? Okay, great. Was there a common theme that you found that employees seemed to like with this? Obviously, the delivery people, they're able to have answers given to clients quite quickly. But other than the delivery aspects of monitoring staff, was there regular staff? For example, somebody using their keyboard, somebody using their regular computer, and other people monitoring what they see. Did you see?
Sir, you are on mute.
Sorry, let's try again. The idea of your surveying staff, surveying employees with many different technologies. Did you find one technology or an application was more appreciated than other technologies? Was there any specific monitoring tools that the staff liked, not just management? Management likes everything, but what about the staff? What was the good side?
Mostly the studies that I've made, it's hardly have shown any technology that the employers like the employees like. The mostly the tools are the one which the employers like, and the one which make the company grow. It doesn't even involve the employees and their
Okay.
likes and dislikes.
Did you see that some companies or some of your research found a balance so that when they were observing the work monitoring, they allowed, for example, a 10 minutes per hour or 15 minutes per hour use of Facebook or use of social media? Was that identified at all in some of your studies? The idea of people
Yes,
are supposed to work.
Companies like Microsoft, they give their employees breaks for using social media, and even the break which they can enjoy in whatever way they like.
Yes, Microsoft and Google both very, very big,
Yes.
big breaks. It's hard to keep up with them. But yes, the idea of this is big, especially with the Internet of Things. Some people are matching the employee monitoring with Internet of Things technology. Thank you very much for your studies. I thought it was very interesting. Any other
Pooja ma'am.
questions?
Yes, Sukanya, I think it was a very good paper because none of the papers until now have touched upon this topic, that what are the issues which the employees might be facing because of excessive monitoring. So I think this is a very unique addition you have done to today's presentation. I would
Thank
just
you.
suggest, I don't have a question, I just want to suggest that it is a very good theoretical paper, but I would suggest how these things are getting implemented on ground. If you can do a study, maybe you can start with interviewing some employees of some companies from an Indian perspective, and then maybe later on you can also do a cross country study where you can compare that how the things are different in other countries and how India can improve. So this can be a starter for you, but for you, you are just still an undergrad student, so I think you have given a very detailed perspective. So I would encourage you to work on this topic and come out with a better paper.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Professor Watts, I have a question here. I just want to know
Sure.
how is it with the employees outside? Because Indian context we are aware. So we just want a first-hand information. I think even the audience would be keen on that.
Sure. Korea promotes itself to the world as being one of the most connected countries in the world. Everybody has internet. Everybody has not just a cell phone and a computer, but many times even the Kakao social media, the average is more than 2 accounts per person throughout the whole country. So they're very plugged in. And some students, undergraduate students, did the same project, not focused on legalities, but focused on the Internet of Things and employees monitoring, and they were saying almost the exact same thing. In Korea and in India, it's almost the same. It's really interesting. They were saying that learning from Google, not Microsoft, but Google, same thing, was a good thing in that they should be providing more freedom. They shouldn't be just focusing on the dollar. They should be focusing on people being human beings and not just focus on work, work, work. But if you're going to study a 8-hour or 12-hour period, you have to understand for the best results, you need to work for a while and then take a break, and work for a while and take a break. And so you should allow use of personal use in the office computer or whatever you're going to be doing. And usually the studies showed that companies just ban Facebook or they ban things. So yes, the same results that you found. It was good. Thank you. Korea and India has a lot in common.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sukanya. So moving on, we now have Ms. Janu Jain and Ms. Sarita Devi presenting a paper on past, present and future of work from home, a bibliometric analysis. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. My sincere greetings to the session chairs, Professor Sean and Dr. Pooja, and to all the participants and co-presenters. So I'll be sharing my screen, and my co-author, Ms. Sarita, and me together will be making this presentation. I hope, Seema ma'am, my presentation is visible.
No, ma'am, not yet, but it's starting. Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So as ma'am's told, the title of our paper is Past, Present and Future of Work from Home, a Bibliometric Analysis. So this has been a wonderful morning here and an afternoon at Professor Sean's end, and we've been learning that this COVID has led to an unprecedented changes in the nature of the work and the nature and the social order of doing the work. So in the further course of our presentation, we'll be beginning with the introduction, followed by objectives, review of literature, the methodology which we have used, the data collection, analysis, implications, and we'll be concluding it with some limitations and the scope for future studies. So coming back to what I started with, that yes, this COVID-19 has blurred the lines between the work offices and the home. This was the time period when we and my co-author also were working from home and got this opportunity to learn about this bibliometric analysis. And we thought of doing the same on this very burning topic, which was around there, that is working from a remote location. So this study is instrumental in tracking the progress of this concept since its inception and the current development around it in a more systematic and a well-bound manner. So we've taken a discourse from a narrative review and made an attempt towards a more systematic review using the bibliometric analysis. So the objectives of our study will be to study the literature, the literary developments which have taken place on this concept over the years, to identify the most cited articles, journals, and publications in the field. Consequently, the most influential authors who have contributed, their affiliations, the countries to which they belong to, and then to gauge the country-wise distribution of these publications and interconnections amongst them. Against this background of these objectives, the ultimate thing which we were looking for is to find those burning topics, those burning areas of academic interest by the scholars, which may make a meaningful managerial and policy implications, that what are the themes, what are the areas which need our concern, which need our further research, which are there in the existing studies. So this is a brief of the review of the literature. So teleworking, telecommuting, work from home, or working from a remote location, which whatever name we may call it as, is not a concept which has come up recently. Like this dates back to 1970s. But then this has gained major recognition and acceptance, if I may say, in the post-COVID times, partially, forcefully, and then it has become a new norm, which we've been discussing throughout this session. So as my previous researchers have highlighted, that both the employers and employees were impacted. There were some pros, there were some cons. So there were the various studies which have been conducted by the research, which talks about various aspects like work stress, work-life balance, job satisfaction, family relation, organizational commitment, satisfaction, and other things, that the changed skill set which has come into the place. Then there were some perils of working from home, as by just the researcher before me told that there were some monitoring issues which were there, which were in place. So collectively, these were termed as a remote work paradox by Belvin and Hubler in their recent study in 2020. So this was very interesting when we were looking through the literature review, that we came across this study by Goodrich in 1990, where he said that this telecommuting is here to stay because of this unprecedented wave of digitalization that has come in. It has made this as a predominant working style in the 21st century. So while we were looking for this, the research gap which we found in our study was that there was no existing paper on on bibliometric analysis on this particular concept. So we tried to fill in this gap by doing this study and provide a reference for the future research. The methodology which we used is primarily the bibliometric analysis with its two subparts, that is performance analysis and science mapping. So we'll be talking about that. The softwares which we used for conducting this research was BiblioShiny packages in R. That's a free open source software which is there, and the Fosvio software which we used for this study. Coming to the data collection, so we started mining the papers on these topics from the Web of Science database. So the option was there before us to use either the Web of Science or the Scopus database. So as suggested by Strozzi and Zon, that the Web of Science database is comparatively more cleaner. It is more, it is devoid of duplications. And this is what we also found while we were doing a preliminary search, and therefore we went ahead with using Web of Science database. Keywords search was there. So these keywords were identified from the common keywords which were used by the authors in the papers related to this. Initially, we got this 5271 records, but then we included some in this inclusion and exclusion criteria. We limited our search to the full research papers because they are the ones which are further cited in the conference papers and other articles. And we restricted our study to the business and management field, and the language was English only. So after applying these criteria, the final corpus of 349 records was collected, dated 7th October. These were divided between me and my co-author. We read through the abstracts. As a requirement for doing this bibliometric analysis, the abstract run through was done. There was no paper which we found we could drop from the study just by reading the abstract. So therefore we continued with the original corpus itself. So this is the glimpse of the performance analysis which we had. So 125 sources were there. Primarily, the average publications years is 10.3. 349 documents were fetched, and these are the other statistics which are relevant to our study and will be explained in the further sections of the presentation. So this is very interesting, and that this is the trend line which has exponentially increased. I would like to highlight here that the trend has nevertheless been a rising one, but then this exponential rise has come in the year 2020, partially because of the COVID-led situation, which globally pushed the world into a lockdown to prevent the spread of the contagion. And the exponential rise has been there. This is a steep rise which is there, and probably in times to come, we can see this rise to be even more, to be increasing even more. So this was very interesting and had made us more to dwell further into this particular foray. Then these were the most cited sources which we were found. So the Journal of Applied Psychology published by APA came out to be the most prominent, most cited journals in the other works of the authors, followed by the New Technology, Work and Employment, Organization Science, Journal of Academic Management, Journal of Organization Behavior, so on and so forth. So these were the outputs which were there obtained from the BiblioShiny package in R. Then coming to the most influential authors, they were gauged in the terms of the total number of citations. So Golden TD from USA came out to be the most influential authors, having the most influential author. I'm sorry, that had the maximum number of citations, followed by Raghuram with 700 citations. So this is again very interesting to see that the most of the research is coming from the parts of the countries like USA, the authors affiliated with Lally School of Management and Technology, then from UK, Nottingham Trent University. India, though, also was there, not in the leading foray, but it was there in most of the top cited influential affiliations which were coming. So probably the reason being that these countries, the digital revolution is more into the advanced stages. The digital penetration, which is needed for executing this remote working more effectively, can be attributed to this. Now, from there onwards, I would request my co-author Sarita to take up and explain the further sections of the paper. Over to you, Sarita.
Thank you so much, Shanu. I hope I'm visible to everyone.
Yes, Sarita.
Yes. So I will take you forward now. So we have conducted bibliometric analysis, popularly known as science mapping, using the software package WhatSphere, which was developed by Venek and Waldman, as everybody knows it. He's the founder of the same. And basically through the science mapping, we have tried to analyze the citation, co-citation, bibliographic coupling, co-word analysis, and co-authorship analysis, which I'm going to discuss one by one. So first is the citation analysis, which is displayed over here. So citation analysis basically describes the impact of a particular article or a journal or the author or the publication. It basically depicts how many times a particular author or publication has been cited by other works. So it is clearly visible in this particular diagram, network diagram, that Timothy D. Golden was the most cited author, and which is followed by Sumita Raghuram, as also mentioned by my co-author, Shanu Jain. And then it was followed by R. Garud, Viega, Kelleher, which is clearly visible in the network diagram. So next we have co-citation analysis. So this technique was propounded by Small in the year 1973. Shanu, can you please change the slide? Yeah, so next we have co-citation analysis from the author's perspective. So we have basically two perspectives in this. We have discussed two perspectives. First is the author, and the second one is from the journal's perspective. So if we see from the author's perspective, again, we have found the same result, that Timothy D. Golden was the most cited author. And if we talk from the perspective of journals, Journal of Applied Psychology was the mostly cited journal, which was followed by New Technology Work and Employment, Organization Science, Academy of Management Journal, Journal of Organization Behavior, which is also displayed in the performance analysis as done by Shanu Jain, my co-author. So next we have bibliographic coupling.
Please wind up, the time is up. Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay. So I'm winding it up quickly. So bibliographic coupling was developed by Kessler in 1963, and it has been found that two studies cite the same third document, then it results into bibliographic coupling. So it basically resulted in 5 clusters. So next we have country-wise production. As you can clearly see over here, USA, England, Australia tops the list, which is also displayed using the co-authorship analysis. As you can see, the largest circle is of USA, and which is supplemented by England, Australia, South Korea, and all. So next we have the analysis of co-word, that is co-occurrence of the author's keywords. Basically, it helps us in unveiling the emergent trends in a particular study. So as you can clearly see over here, the major keywords which are being used by the authors is satisfaction, technology, work-life conflict, flexibility, performance, productivity. The same result is also displayed using the word cloud, as it is clearly visible over here. Now moving to trend topics. So this is the gist of our study, and it has been mentioned very clearly over here. Shanu, can you please zoom it so that I can show it from the inception? Yeah, as you can clearly see over here, how the remote working literature has progressed over the years and how the themes have emerged during this period. So in its initial years, the themes like conceptual development, determinants of remote working was the major focus. But then it gradually shifted to satisfaction, stress, virtual teams, and now the main focus is on the motivation and the challenges, which is basically determined by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now the implications. So if we talk about the implication, as we all know, we all are homebound, we are presenting from a remote location. So this is the consequence of the remote working or pandemic only. So as mentioned by Professor Watts, technology is crucial for executing the work. Strong digital infrastructure, adaptation to change, recognizing and embracing the evolution is the need of the hour and is undergoing transition. So we basically require a hybrid model so that we can have a balance between the on-site and off-site working. And for this, we urge the government and the organization to pitch in and to work upon developing the entire model for the same. Next, we have conclusion. So while talking about the conclusion part, so USA, as we all know, USA has done the major work on remote working, already discussed by me. Timothy D. Golden has the most influential citations, and then Journal of Applied Psychology was the most cited journal. And then coming over to the limitation and scope for future research. So we have basically derived the corpus from Web of Science, which is not the exhaustive list of articles. So for future researchers can go for other database like Scopus, which is the largest database. Next, we can have another limitation of our study is keywords that we used are extensive, although, but not exhaustive. So few other keywords may be used by the researchers. Science mapping analysis, in science mapping analysis, we have used the threshold levels. So threshold levels, generally, if we change the threshold limits, then findings are changed by that. So interpretation of the clusters generated by networks is also subjective and individual specific. And then we have used the softwares BiblioShiny and WASVIR. So the other researchers can use other softwares like SetNet Explorer, which is generally used for larger database. So this is a glimpse of our references. And thank you so much for listening. And suggestions and questions are invited. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting to hear about how we are working online. I definitely appreciate your showing your references and clarifying the details about differences between Web of Science material or Scopus material. Obviously, that shows you're at a pretty advanced level there. When you studied the details of the best, like the Web of Science or Scopus, you are talking also about complicated things. Professors are fighting about this all the time. One thing that they're fighting about is if they're promoting themselves. There have been studies showing that if a research paper references, for example, if I write a paper and reference Sean Watts 20 times in my references, that promotes me a lot. And if it's related, it could be accepted, but it should be controlled, some people say. Another aspect related to that is some people are trying to get published in a certain journal, so they will reference that target journal many times. The third thing related to this is some papers that say they are the best literature review to use as a reference. Just that simple sentence convinces a lot of readers to use their literature for citation. Has that been considered in your research, since you are talking about Timothy quite a lot? Timothy, somebody is the most successful. Did his paper were you able to check it? Did he reference himself quite a lot? Any details about that? Sorry, it's a difficult question. Very,
Yeah,
very
that's rather,
detailed.
that's an interesting one, Professor Sean, because this is how the, you know, I don't know how has it been done for good or for what, but then this, what you said is actually being done. So self-citations have become a norm. I really admit that. But then when we just read the abstracts of the papers which we have extracted from this corpus, and what one thing we ensured that we include those papers in which not a single author is cited more than 15 times. I believe that's the
15 times,
yeah, that's the norm. That's the norm. Probably
it's the norm.
we read it that you know, a paper must not have more than 15 citations from the same source. If I may correct, if I'm correct, Sarita, if you can correct me.
Yeah, 15%. It's 15%. Yes.
Yeah, 15%. Yeah, not 15, but 15%. So this one check we kept in mind, Professor Sean, but then the check of the references, whether the person has cited himself or not, is a key takeaway for us also to look out for the things. The period, I also just wanted to mention that the period of the study we collected the papers were from 1990. So we chose 1990 as the starting point because of that was the age of the internet. And that is the time period we kept for the study.
So from the 1990s until 2021?
Till 2021, till 7th October 2021 to be precise, when we scrapped this data from the web
wow,
sites.
quite extensive. So another question that I've asked almost everybody
I
so
would like
far,
to add one thing in this, like we have found 8 research papers written by Golden Timothy D. So that is why the paper has received maximum citation, all 8 papers. That is the reason. He's the core area of Golden Timothy D was remote working or telecommuting only.
So he wrote 8 papers
as
about
per the
working
Web of
from
Science
home.
database. Yes.
From Web of Science. Okay. Similar to the other presenters, you guys have studied a lot, well, from 1990s until now. What is your 1 or 2 sentences you're teaching the world? With all of your research so far, if I need to remember one statement, what is your abstract? What is your statement that you're teaching the world from everything that you've learned?
Okay, Sarita, would you like to take it?
Give it to somebody else.
You can take it.
Yeah. So if I had to summarize this entire study, then what I can say from here is that the evolution which has this concept of remote working has taken is on exponential rise, and what we can say here, see from now, the time where we are into, that this is a trend which is to stay. And there are different nuances which both the employers and employees are to understand from it. So, this study is just a platform for a lot more for us and all the fellow researchers to take upon, that how this can, what all things need to be paid attention to if we have to adopt this model, maybe in global context as well as in Indian context. So, I would like to summarize that.
Okay, before your partner comments, since you went first, I'm going to make it harder for your partner to comment. You say remote working is here to stay, but there are so many companies, like one of the biggest investment banks, Goldman Sachs, they are requiring people to go back into the office. And in Korea, many companies and universities are requiring people, you have to go back to regular work now. The idea like in some parts of the United States and in Canada, many parts of Canada and in Korea, throughout Korea, it's almost as if coronavirus never happened, and companies and universities are saying, nope, you have to go back to the same old way. So
that is the reason we have talked about a hybrid model in this, to maintain the work-life balance, so that both the pros and cons of work from home can remain intact and can be taken care of with this, because there are positive and negative sides of both the things. By remaining at home for a long period of time, keep the people under stress, and productivity may get less. So in order to improve the productivity, 2-3 days are suggested for offline and 2-3 days are suggested for online mode, you can say. So this is how we have suggested the hybrid model for the studies. and for
And
the
that-
upcoming years.
That's based on an average of your studies? Most of your studies is saying this?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes.
And
Yes,
how
sir.
many studies did you say that you had again? Was it 120 journals and how many
Yeah,
studies?
349,
altogether?
349 articles.
349
we
studies.
shortlisted.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting. I hope I can read all of these different articles soon. Anybody else have some questions for them? I don't want to take up all the time. If not, I can keep asking 100 more questions. I'll be a gentleman. I'll be quiet. Go ahead.
I just have just one question because this methodology is new. So I just wanted to know that how actually the analysis has been done. Were you required to download papers or it was only through the abstracts the analysis has been done? And exactly what software have you used? So if you can just throw some light on that.
Yes, ma'am. So basically, ma'am, while we scrap this data from the Web of Science database, a CSV file is generated, which has the abstracts only. So bibliometric requires the authors not to read the entire papers per se. That can be taken up during maybe the meta review or the systematic review. So the abstracts only were read of the papers. So we divided 170 abstracts nearly each with me and my co-author. So that CSV corpus was then put into the R software, BiblioShiny package, and subsequently in the Phosphere. So from those, these outputs were generated. So the filters were firstly put in while searching, and then while reading the abstracts, though we could not find any such paper which we could think of dropping, although there were a couple of articles from HBR and other country-specific judgments, etc., which were fetched by the software. But then we did not go with dropping them, so that because they were somewhat relating to the, they were capturing some of the aspects of the remote work location aspect of this concept. So we went ahead with reading the entire 349 abstracts.
Okay.
Plus, while I would like to
Yeah,
add
please.
something, ma'am. Plus,
Yeah.
while defining the clusters from the results of WASPHERE, we have studied the articles as well in order to define the areas of the clusters.
Right, right. So that was done manually, or that was also done with the
No,
help of
that was
software?
done manually. That was done manually. Defining the clusters
Okay.
was subjective only by us.
Okay. So, Miss, a similar exercise can be done on the Scopus based
Yeah, ma'am.
abstract. Okay, fine. Yeah, so that can be one extension where you can add more number of papers to your study, and it will, I think, enhance the results and give more refined results.
Yes, ma'am.
Naturally.
Yeah. Okay.
Since-
That was all.
If you allow me one last comment, the idea of reviewing all of these from 1990 to 2020 or today, whatever it was you said, if you're able to package your literature review into some type of condensed table into your paper, you will probably get a lot of citations. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Usually, if they cite themselves, they benefit. If they cite the journal, they benefit. If they write the paragraph saying you should cite this for a good literature review, they benefit. But if you also put, you said 329 articles, which means you basically research 329 different research statements. If you could somehow summarize what they are, what the basic topic is, in a compact way, I'm pretty sure you would be cited quite a lot. Good luck.
Definitely, sir. We'll incorporate the same in our future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sarita.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
thank you, Shanu ma'am. Quite an extensive learning for me as well. Thank you. So last but not the least, sir, we have our very own students from BBA, Mr. Anand Saad and Ms. Khushi Chaudhary. They would be talking about effectiveness of online mentoring tools. So can we have Khushi and Anand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all the best, guys.
You've been assigned as the co-host, Anand and Khushi. You can
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I was not able to unmute my mic. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Khushi Chaudhary, along with my partner Anand, and because of the guidance and support of Seema ma'am, we are here to present our research paper on the topic effectiveness of online mentoring. So I hope my presentation is visible to everyone.
Yes.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes. So I would like Anand to give an introduction regarding the research paper that we have done.
A very good afternoon to everyone. Today, I feel very honored to be a part of this second Global Management Conference and present our paper in front of such great academicians and research scholars. As Khushi introduced me, I am a student, BBA third year, and along with Khushi and Seema ma'am, we are here today sharing with you all a paper presentation on the topic effectiveness of online mentoring tools. Khushi, can you please move to the next slide? So following are the contents that we'll be covering in our presentation. Next slide, please.
Yes, thank you, Anand. So introduction, mentoring. First of all, we have started our research paper by defining what is mentoring. Mentoring is a relationship between two individuals in which at one end we have a mentor who is an experienced person who have knowledge, and another end we have a mentee who requires guidance, who is not that knowledgeable or experienced as a mentor. So in this process, mentor is a person who provides support, guidance, and a protected environment to the mentee to develop his or her skills, achieve the goals for which he have or she have enrolled in this mentoring process. So in short, mentoring is a eternal human connection, I think, because it includes a relationship which is formed between a mentor and a mentee, which includes brainstorming, thoughtful discussions, and diving into each other's views, etc. So types of mentoring. Mentoring can be of three types. That is traditional mentoring. Traditional mentoring is the mentoring which we all know, the face-to-face mentoring in the physical setup, which we do. Distance mentoring is a mentoring process which is conducted through an online platform, which can be which can be conducted using online video conferencing apps, Google Meet, Zoom, anything. Group mentoring is when there is an experienced mentor who is providing his knowledge or experience to a large number of audience. These three types can be conducted either formally or informally. A formal mentoring is a setup which is guided by procedures which are predetermined, and there is a guideline which you have to follow, a standard procedure. But informal mentoring is there is no guided procedures. You can be as open as you want and discuss any topic with your mentor without any hesitation. So while drafting a mentoring program, the mentoring program can be conducted in colleges, in schools, in a professional environment also. So there are some things which you should take care before drafting a mentoring program. First of all, mentoring should include a mentor who is experienced, educated, and patient. He should not be judgmental first of all. Sometimes even before, mentors need to take some kind of training before they deal with the mentees. So basic characteristics of a mentor he should be a good listener, flexible, knowledgeable, honest, and he should not judge. Literature review. So before literature review, the keywords of our research paper is online mentoring. What is mentoring? Role of mentor, mentee, and guidance. So although we have studied many research papers, but due to shortage of time, we were only able to deeply study 7 to 8 research papers from a time. What is mentoring? Types of mentoring we have taken from research paper ranging from 2012 to 1890, and to study the impact of COVID-19, the research papers were taken from 2020 onwards. So the first paper which we have taken is the effectiveness of year of online mentoring program for girls. This research paper highlighted that Online mentoring will play a vital role in advancement of skills and to boost up the career. Another research paper highlighted that online mentoring is a rising trend due to lockdowns, and e-mentoring would be a viable way of achieving practical goals global and to enhance your research goals. The objectives of our study was to analyze the effectiveness of online mentoring, to study the benefits, challenges of e-mentoring during the COVID pandemic, to define the role of a mentor and a mentee during this process, and to examine the increase in the use of online mentoring tools. So research methodology, to have a deep analysis, our research paper was based on secondary research also, and we have also conducted a primary research, and we have prepared a questionnaire on Google form which included 13 very simple questions, and we were able to collect 45 responses on our topic. The questionnaire was circulated among DME management school, media school, as well as law schools, and we have also taken help of our teachers, our professors, to give their input. The questionnaire included 10 questions, 10 basic questions like, have you attended any mentoring sessions? And if you have attended, then what was the type? The type could be group mentoring or the physical mentoring or online mentoring. If you have gone through e-mentoring, then what were the tools used? The tools could be video conferencing apps, phone calls, etc. Which of the following is the advantage of online mentoring? What was the disadvantage you faced? Rate your experience of online mentoring sessions. Choose the topic in which you seek the guidance of a mentor. It could be your any academic issue for which you have gone through a mentoring session, or to boost up your career, or any professional problem. During the COVID-19 pandemic, were the mentoring sessions effective? Do you think there is an increase of online mentoring sessions during the pandemic? And which type of mentoring is best according to you? So data analysis and our observations. The best type of mentoring according to the survey, to my amazement, was traditional mentoring. Around 64.4% of these respondents say that traditional mentoring is the best because of the personal attention. The survey highlighted that though there is an increase in the use of online mentoring due to this whole pandemic situation, and the online mentoring provides flexible routine. No matter what is the time where you are traveling or not, you can have an online mentoring session. But the same kind of flexibility is not available in a traditional mentoring program. So most of the respondents were happy with the experience of online mentoring, but the winner of this was traditional mentoring. Some special outcomes. The average age of the respondent ranges from 18 to 30 years. Most of the responses we have got from our college students, very thankful to them. Everyone has attended a mentoring session, either online, offline, but most of them have been a part of an online mentoring session. The most popular is online mentoring, but most effective is a traditional mentoring according to our respondents. Further outcomes. To conduct online mentoring sessions, most used tool was video conferencing apps like Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. And most of the mentoring sessions were attended to solve academic problems and to take guidance related to career advancement. My recommendation: to make online mentorings more interesting and to remove the hindrances which our respondents felt during the online mentoring session is, you can get your mentees indulge in this growth process. Though you are not interacting in a physical environment, but you should always attract your mentee towards your sessions. To make sessions more interesting, you can use quizzes, games, etc. Role of a mentor. The role of a mentor is clearly defined in this presentation, is that they should be a consultant. They should guide the mentee at each and every step. It should render the right advice. He should be a cheerleader. Instead of judging, instead of demotivating the mentee, they should motivate them to think out of the box. A mentor should regularly tell them the points at which they could improve, should provide them suggestions, a comprehensive feedback so that they can work upon them. And similarly, there are some role of mentees also. Mentees should be clear with the objective for which they have enrolled themselves in a mentoring process. They should provide a correct feedback to the mentor so that he or she can also improve his sessions. Plan and engage in conversations and concentrate on relationship. Maintain a relationship with your mentor. Value the boundaries of the mentor also. Outside the session, most of the mentors do not have time to communicate with each and every mentor, especially in group mentoring. So please do not flood your mentor with emails or telephonic calls. Benefits and challenges of e-mentoring. Benefits highlighted by our research was flexible meetings. As I have earlier said, that there is no time constraint, or today when we are in a COVID situation, we are working online. We are working in an online mode. These students are also engaged in hundreds of activities. Even our teachers are engaged in hundreds of activities. Most of the women professors are sitting at home. They're also taking care of their families. So with their taking care of families, they can easily take out a time for this online mentoring sessions. Through online mentoring sessions, we can attract a larger group of audience, which will have more exposure. Challenges is that's different time zone. It could be a problem for people, and most of the people are not so much technical savvy, so it can also be a problem for them. It can be also a problem for them. So for overcoming this problem, the recommendations have been highlighted. Tools of e-mentoring. The tools of e-mentoring which were used and which were most used was a video conferencing apps, but there are certain other methods also, like phone, telephonic conversations, email, video conferencing apps, etc. So now conclusion. Traditional mentoring programs, although they are still working and effective too, but the future will be online mentoring. Online mentoring proves to be a beneficial substitute of a traditional mentoring program during the COVID-19 situation. It is an effective approach to better learning for weak mentees. Our research paper gives an in-depth knowledge of online mentoring, its challenges, benefits, role of mentor and mentee. It also includes a questionnaire-based study to judge the effectiveness of online mentoring. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Mentoring is definitely an important and growing topic. My first comment was just to clarify. You went through some details a little bit fast, and I think I heard you say that the most popular type of mentoring was online, but was it correct? Did you say that the best mentoring was the traditional face-to-face mentoring?
Yes, sir. Due to the when we were preparing the questionnaire, there were two questions. First question was related to the popular mentoring program. The popular mentoring program was online mentoring because most of the respondents have attended it, and they say that this is the most popular. The second question is, out of these 3 or 4 mentoring program, which is the best according to you, which is most effective, and you feel that it has satisfied your expectations. So for that, the winner was traditional mentoring, because traditional mentoring overcomes the challenges like different time zones, and it also lead to a physical interaction which is more effective. Because of the questionnaire, we came to know that though respondents have enjoyed an online experience, but still they like and the most satisfying was traditional programs.
Okay. Another question. I have worked in several different countries, and in India, usually the students are very proactive, which is good. I love that. In Korea, there's a very high uncertainty avoidance. So students, although the professor is required to do mentoring, and I want to do mentoring, and the doors open all the time, and I usually make every Wednesday about this time open for mentoring and things. Not a lot of students actually participate in mentoring. So did your studies show that there were not just most effective for getting students results, but was there an effective mentoring to get students to participate to start with? That's a strange request. Probably you haven't come across that outside of Japan and Korea.
Yes, sir. Though we have not included this part in our research study, but because of my personal experience, I could say I have been part of DME management school from last now 2019, and when it was our first day, we were assigned a mentor. We were assigned a mentor, and we were introduced to the concept of mentoring. So I have been very well introduced to this topic when I was in my first year only. So every time if there was any academic issue, even related to a small project also, we used to have a mentor who used to guide related to our personal problems also. So for DME, I know that everyone is well aware that there is a thing which is called as mentoring, and we all have attended it. And especially we have a compulsory mentoring session on every Thursday. So we cannot escape from that.
And how is it compulsory?
So it is compulsory.
Is there a mark given for it?
No, sir, no, not any marks we have given for it, but sometimes teachers want to tell us some related to some notices or university guidelines they have to tell, and sometimes there are certain personal class issues also which we can overcome during this mentoring sessions and half an hour mentoring sessions. Or there is during COVID pandemic also we had certain counseling sessions where teachers were helping us to come out of this situation, and we should not miss our college life. So
okay,
I would also sorry to intervene. I just want to add one thing here, like whatever the question which you asked. See, the motivation for the students attending the mentoring session from the college has been given in terms of attendance. So whosoever will attend the mentoring session, definitely they'll get additional attendances for that. So maybe we can change it or add something, as if you can advise us accordingly.
We have a lot to learn from you. The other thing is, again, similar to other research groups, is there one or two statements that you have to teach the world from all of your mentoring research? What have you learned the most? What is your main abstract?
So the main, if I have to give an answer in one line, so first of all, online mentoring. My topic is online mentoring. So online mentoring, though it has some challenges, but the challenges are not that big that we cannot overcome. By efforts of mentee and mentor, we can overcome these challenges. And I think it is a growing trend and it will stay forever. It has, like online education has come and it has stayed for last 2 years. I think that online mentoring has also come up in colleges and institutes, and it will stay up for a long period of time because students are able to adapt it, and now they have understood the concept of online mentoring.
Okay, great. Did I see that you're Dr. Chimamam? Did you learn something that was more effective with the students than others? Like, of course, have attendance, but what was the common mentoring suggestion for the mentors to give for the mentees? Like, how are the mentors supposed to be conducted? Was that actually identified?
Sir, actually, whenever students are there, specifically when they are not physically coming to the institution, to the college, they're like, all over the place. So
right.
just to center them at one place or assign a person, allocate a specific person to them in terms of, personal, professional issues, interpersonal, whatever issues might be. If there is a comfort between the mentor and the mentee for these kinds of, and they know somebody is there to, help us to get back. So they are mentally and emotionally a lot of, they feel a lot of relief when somebody listens to them and answers their queries. So from students' perspective, yeah.
That information is well known at many different universities. But at some universities, even though that's taught and the students' years are started with an introduction to that and how it's beneficial, some professors do better than others. Usually, if we say for class marks, 5% or 10% of the class marks is you have to come every Wednesday. Then it works. But if you don't use that, my question was, have some teachers found or mentors found any key traits that create better results from your research?
Specifically from our research, I haven't, we haven't worked on that. But yes, we can add it on in this paper. And from my personal experiences, I have observed that the students who are regularly attending the mentoring session, they're becoming very participative and enterprising, and participating in all the other societies and activities going on in the college. They come forward and they have that confidence building just because they have a proper liaising with a specific person. So that is what I've observed in my experiences.
Thank you. Thank you for supervising this.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Puja ma'am.
Khushi, I just have one question because you have done this study from the student's perspective. So I think you can have you approached any person who are in the industry and they are exposed to this mentoring system, or it was just a student-centric study right now?
And the study was based to know what our college students were feeling about this whole online mentoring process, and we have tried to expand by taking some of the responses from our teachers also, our professors who are currently teaching or they have taught us in past years. But the main motive was to know the experiences of students.
Okay,
No matter whether they are. Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah. So I can just make a suggestion that maybe you can do a comparative study as those students who have been exposed to mentoring at the college days, how this thing has transitioned into their work life, and whether this mentoring concept as a whole is being getting implemented in industry. So this we can say that what is the effectiveness. So this kind of a study can be extended from your side. Otherwise, it was a very good study, and you have added again. I would say that you have added a new angle to the whole discussion today because this thing was not discussed in any other paper. So well done.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your suggestions. Thank you, ma'am.
So that brings us to the end of the session, a very thought-provoking and extensive studies which we saw today, and quite a learning experience for me as well. So thank you so much for your time, Professor Watts and Dr. Pooja. I just will take a few minutes more. I just want to announce that the best paper would be what would be given in the valedictory. So please do attend that. And thank you, sir, for your precious time. And it was a very valuable information and which you shared, and we got to know you. Thanks for this virtual platform. So we indeed are privileged to get associated with you, and I request you to give us much more, in future. So give us take out some time from your busy schedule to be a part of DME. So just a token of appreciation from us, a certificate of appreciation for you.
Thank you very much. Signed by everybody. Thank you.
We'll be definitely sending the whole recording and everything to you. We'll be mailing it to you. Thank you for being a part of our session today, taking out your time. Thanks again.
Yes, absolutely. And as I said, some of the research that you've done is very similar to the research that is being done here by people in Korea and with the universities in Vietnam. I think it would be a nice idea for these groups to be aware of some of the people doing the same research here. Maybe they can collaborate together. And going forward, if you're doing this type of thing each semester, maybe we can align some of the classes that you have, your students and my students. Maybe the students can do some sort of research project together if they have the similar topics. I really like what you guys are doing. Thank you very much.
that would be a great opportunity for our students and a good exposure at an international level. So what else can they call for? That's what I can say. Thank you. Thanks once again. Thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
folks. Bye-bye.
So the feedback and attendance link has been shared in the chat box. Please copy the link and fill your feedback in the attendance as well. I think we can start.